Good afternoon and welcome to London Real. My name is Brian Rose. I'm here as usual with Mr. Nick Gabriel. And joining us today is... is that a girl?
Kind of.
Joining us today is...
I'm scared.
I haven't seen a girl in so long. It's Sumayya Jamil. Welcome.
Hi.
Wow, thanks for coming on. We needed a girl really desperately.
Couldn't get a better one to be your first one.
I hope you're right. This is our 14th episode, and it's about time,
Well,
right?
it is, huh?
So I want to talk more about Sumayya later, but in the meantime, I'm going to have to talk about our other friend who's always here, which is Alpha Brain. Sumayya has just reluctantly tried her first Alpha Brain. And yes, you can get it too if you go to onit.com. They are our sponsor. If you use the code LondonReal, you'll get 10% off, and you will be alpha braining your way through life. So there you go. But anyways, welcome. I'm going to give her just a quick intro. Sumayya, I think by day is a corporate attorney in the city, and then by night she runs this crazy website called pukapaki.com, which is all about food, and I want to hear more about that very, very soon. And in the meantime, Nick, can you kick us off?
So you want me to drop the bomb?
I don't know. I don't know what the bomb is.
Man, I was thinking because it's the first girl we've had on here, I didn't know what to ask. You know, I usually come up with quite a deep question. Sumayya, what do you think happens when we die?
Oh, I hope you get lots and lots of food wherever we go. That's one thing that will keep us going. I don't know, really. I guess we go somewhere nice and fuzzy and soft and happy. That's what I hope. Anyway.
Now you're originally from Pakistan, is that right? So what religion are you?
So I'm a Muslim, born Muslim, and I guess we believe that obviously we go to heaven or hell, so it's pretty clear cut.
There is a hell in Islam.
But yeah, definitely, clearly. I've been brought up with that belief. So I think of it in the sense that, there's possibly two places that one could go. And depending on how good or bad our soul has been in this world, we'll probably go wherever deserved. I guess this hell just sounds a lot more exciting, but...
Hell does.
It does.
I remember once saw a t-shirt which said, good girls get to go to heaven, bad girls get to go everywhere.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. It's kind of along the same lines as what you were saying.
I guess so. So you don't sound tremendously religious.
Well, I am, but I guess I'm more spiritual than religious. I think religion is there, and I'm brought with a lot of beliefs, and I have my values from my religion and from my culture. But, I'm very clear about my beliefs. I don't like to impose them on other people, but it's within me. And I think I'm spiritual, and I believe, if it's about believing in a God, yes, I do. I believe in an entity that obviously made us or whatever. But again, I don't like talking about it with people. I don't go around proclaiming that I'm Muslim because, that's my belief, and that's what I was brought up with. So,
that's cool.
But, I'm comfortable with my religious beliefs.
Okay.
And that's where I ended.
When you were coming over here, I was thinking, since you're very much into food, I was thinking something my grandmother once said, which was, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And I remember telling Nick that you were bringing us some food over, and it sounds simple, but we both were really excited, to have someone cook for us.
That's awesome.
Isn't that? And how come we have this primal thing about getting excited about that?
I think it's just something about food. There's this, that's, I guess when you eat, you have all these endorphins that get released, and they kind of bring this pleasure to the mouth, and it's a sensual experience. I mean, to me, food has always been like a sensual experience to your mouth, to your brain, to your stomach, to how you feel after eating it. And I guess it's in the same thing. If you eat too much, you feel really ill, and it makes you feel low. So I think the thing about food is it's all to do with your senses. And especially Pakistani food and food in the East, if you see all the different ingredients we use are, they make you feel hot, and they make you feel cold, and you can feel them, you can smell them. And I find that in the West, the food is very interesting. It's very sort of, I guess not as spicy or, tasty is the same way that our food is. To me, that's how I feel. But there are levels of enhancement. If you go to gourmet meals, if you go and have a Michelin star meal, there'll be other senses that'll probably attractive to look at and interesting flavors, but they're very subtle. So I think everything about food together brings about an experience. And anyway, for me, that's what's important. The experience of food is what makes me want to feel like living. And I think men... I guess it not just feeds your tummies, but I guess you get very excited about it. I don't know, you guys, you tell me. I mean, girls think very differently about food.
They do.
See, I think
I've
of
got
it.
a theory.
Yeah.
I think like one of the aspects of the feminine is that nurturing essence, right? And as men, like, well, in my personal experience, I'm more attracted to feminine women than I am to like androgynous or masculinized women. And I mean, when a woman makes you a meal, it's such a nurturing act. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and she's even more feminine. She's got like, I mean, if there's a girl in my apartment and she's making me dinner or something, it's like she's got that kind of goddess quality to it. Do you know what I mean?
It's like a caring kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's just my theory.
Especially in this day and age of like, ready to make, Tesco meals and stuff.
Yeah, probably it's that. And it's also that, kind of, I guess in a way it kind of brings about that kind of love for your mom that you have, because she always used to make you these meals, and there's an association with how you felt when your mom made you those meals. Like you said, a nurturing feeling, a feeling of safety, feeling of love. And I think all of those things, if a woman cooks for you, I guess you feel those comfortable feelings that you probably did in your childhood. And I think food probably just because the first person that I've cooks for us is our mums. So I think maybe that's something about that. And I think a lot of, and it's not just women who cook really well. Of course, men can be amazing cooks, not just chefs, but cooks as well. But in the in the long run, I guess that's what appeals to men when a woman cooks for them.
It just doesn't happen very often.
No.
It should start happening more often, right? Big shout out to Brian's girlfriend.
So you talked about like food in the East as far as in Pakistan and versus say food in the West. I mean, West is so general because you have food in France or food in England or food in the US. It's so different. But do people take their food more seriously or in a more ritualistic way in Pakistan? In the East or in Pakistan than say here?
Well, I guess in Pakistan, it's all about food. Sadly, there's very little pleasure left in at least a country like Pakistan. I mean, India is slightly different, it's more open society. But in Pakistan, religious reasons, things have been a lot more closeted up. You can't really drink in public. You can't really, go out to clubs and stuff. So I think food has developed into such an experience and a part of life in our countries that really the only excitement is if you go to someone's house, you get an amazing meal and everyone gets really excited about it. If you're going out to eat, everyone says, oh my God, we're going out to eat or have a big biryani together and stuff like that. So food is a part of everyone's life in Pakistan in a big way because that's one of the biggest pleasures we have. So it's a real ritual in our country. I mean, you go to someone's house, always about what's being cooked. And, I know that's the same in the Western society, but for us, it's really very little pleasure. So
it's social as well.
It's a very, very social thing. So really, the only thing you can do is go out and eat.
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting, isn't it? What's your relationship like with food?
It's pretty fucked up.
Well, I mean, because you trained as an athlete for a large part of your life, and I remember you said, I think on one of the podcasts, that it used to be, and I've been guilty of this in the past, that I need my 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass, and eating to you was more like to build a machine, right?
Man, it's to build a machine, exactly. Right. And it got to the point where, I wouldn't even consider the taste aspect of food. Unless it was something I already hated, like anchovies or something. But food was just designed to nourish my body and help me move towards my objectives. And my ex-girlfriend, she always used to say to me, she was like, you definitely have issues with food. And now I'm pretty chilled out now about it. But still, if I make a food choice, anything, whether I'm in a cafe or at someone's house or whatever, like the first thing I'll run it through that filter is like, does it have any trans fat in it? Does it have sugar in it? Do you know what I mean? And
me too.
I don't know if I'll ever change. Yeah, you do that as well.
Yeah, I'm just like, what's the protein value? Like, I was in the Lake District for New Year's, and I was up there, and it's very English, obviously. And I want to get your opinion on English cuisine.
Absolutely.
And even if you offend some people,
a very strong opinion.
and I was just looking for a protein-based meal that was going to be somewhat healthy, like a steak or a nice piece of like cod or not cod or sea bass or something with vegetables. And it was just like, good luck, you're not going to find that up there. And it was a little frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And then I visit my brother in Geneva, and down there it's very French, and like the food is much more of a ritual down there. And my brother's American, but he speaks French now. And I said to him, would you ever not have wine with dinner? And he just looked at me like I was smoking crack, and I asked my little 6-year-old nephew, Alexei, and I said, Alexei, would you ever go a day without eating cheese? And he just looked at me like, Uncle Brian, you're smoking crack. That's part of our life. We're in Switzerland and we eat cheese and we have wine with a meal. So it's just like very different.
It is. Like for me, it's like I'm a bit like you, because I train with Matt and stuff. So I am pretty particular about what I eat now, and I don't eat carbs, and that's really weird because everyone in my country eats carbs, and
Right.
you can't live without carbs. And I'm really low on the carb.
And your website is fairly low carb, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I have a few recipes on rice because they are traditional.
I love rice, man.
Yeah, I have to say rice is my weakness, and I do like the rice dishes. But again, I'll eat probably just once a week or something like that, really tiny portion. But that's because I've grown up, my family's always been particular about portion control and calories and all that sort of stuff. So when I look at meals, I'm like, oh God, that's too much carb, I can't eat it. You go into a cafe, you can't eat anything because everyone's sandwiches, pastries, nothing. So in the end, I just pick up like a small little fruit bowl or something because that's all you probably can eat in the lowest carb value. So yeah, I mean, it's hard because, in this country, I mean, if you want to, talk about it, 90% of everything is carb-based.
Is that this country or every country?
Well, I mean, being in this country, I'm just speaking about London, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, nearly every country, anything yummy and sort of like full-plated is always got 90% of the plate is full of carbs. So
It's true.
Because they're cheaper to produce, right?
keep it to
Like
produce, fill
quality
you
meat
up,
is
and fill you
expensive.
up, and they kind of make you feel satisfied, I guess.
It's true. If you go to the high street and try to find a nutritious, high protein meal, man,
hard, dude.
No, you can't find anything.
It is hard. Well, what do you think about English food? I know it's changed a lot
Oh
in
my
London
God,
in the
yeah.
last 10, 20 years.
I think London's an amazing place for a variety of different foods now.
I think it's one of the best in the world.
It definitely is. There's nothing to compare to the London variety of food. But English food itself is a bit too starchy for my liking. I don't want to really upset people, but I think it's bland, it's boring, it's not very imaginative. It doesn't bring about any sensory pleasure. I'm sorry, but
Do you want to say
Preparing for the
something bad
barrage of
about
hate
the-
mail that's going to come in.
Do you want to say
fish
something
and
bad about the
chips?
Queen before we move on to the next
no, the
topic?
Queen's lovely. I like the Queen.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, but they have also improved themselves. Like this is what the food was, and my dad studied in the UK in the 50s, and he says in those days all you could ever get was like fish and chips, and that was it. But in saying that, the fish and chips has come a long way too. I mean, you go to like nice gastropubs, you can fabulous crispy beer batter that actually I really enjoy. So that is the basic English food is quite bland, but I think they've really come a long way, and that's what they should be credited for because really they've improved it. And that you could be still gross and starchy and horrible, and in some places you can still get that food, but it's improved. It's gotten interesting. They've lended a lot of experience from like sort of like French cuisine and Italian cuisine and brought in so many different flavors. So there's definitely that positive attribute to it that they've improved.
And what about French cuisine or American cuisine? I mean, it's funny because we're just an English channel apart,
Yeah.
but when you go to France,
It's totally different. It's like you said, it's a ritual for them.
it is.
It
It's
is
like
really
it's a
ritual.
production.
It's a production.
I mean,
And
people
love
don't.
that.
I mean, they don't
love
eat
that.
sandwiches like walking down the street. That concept is weird for them, or or drinking a coffee on the go. It's like it's a
all
sit
sit
down.
down. Yeah, it's a production. I
But
mean, like
my French buddy was one of my best friends is Parisian. He was over here, and we walked into some store, and he wanted a chocolate croissant, and he like looked at the croissant on offer, and it was almost like he was about to retch, this utter look of disdain on his face. He was like, "What is this shit?" And he like turned his back on it. It's like, wow, they take it seriously over there. Huh?
They do. I have a French friend who lives in London now, and she, you go into like a coffee shop and she sees these croissants with like filling, like cheese and ham and stuff inside it, and she's like, "This is not how you eat a croissant. This is just disgusting. The English and the way that they treat the croissant is appalling." So, and I think French cuisine is fabulous. Again, the flavors are very simple, but they do stuff to food that is such a beautiful experience just to look at it, and tasting is, it's heavenly.
In contrast is like the American experience where
Well, I quite like the American experience. I mean, it's interesting because America's made out of so many different nationalities, and so they've bought so much, and they've actually put it together into very interesting cuisines. Like the Louisiana Cajun is just incredible. I mean, I love that, and even New York. I mean, New York's another London as far as different cuisines are concerned. It's got amazing restaurants, but the rest of America too. I mean, it is quite sort of again very high in carb and not very flavorsome. And I mean, I know when I go to the US and I go into supermarkets, I'm shocked at like the kind of stuff that's sold. I mean, yes, there's plenty of it, and you get complete ADD when you go into a supermarket, but it's just not all that nice.
the supermarkets are so huge.
They're just
In the States.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think they're very good, to be honest.
no, I don't really like.
it depends on where you
shopping
are.
there.
I mean, if you go to some metropolitan areas, they can be quite good, and the
Yeah.
beef is quite good because they have like a USDA grading system and that kind of thing.
What's your favorite food, Brian?
Favorite
Or your
food?
favorite kind of food?
And I want to ask her more about this later because I'm sure we want to define the difference between Indian and Pakistani food because I'm sure we're going to have some controversy. But, I have an Indian buddy in New York, and he used to say when we go out to Indian food, he's like, Brian, it's the most efficient calorie delivery system on earth. When we go to an Indian place and we just have like wonderful like meats and with some sauce or rice and like, and there's a lot of fresh, just like grilled meats and things like that I find in that cooking. And it's hard to say no to a meal like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I really haven't had a bad Indian/Pakistani meal. That's up there. But can you tell us a little bit about the differences?
Differences between Pakistani and Indian food?
Yeah. Obviously, there's a little rivalry there between the two countries.
Well, yeah. I mean, the rivalry is very political, but Pakistanis and Indians themselves get along famously. So, again, we really do appreciate each other's cuisine and culture, and, it's quite similar in many ways. I guess the only real differences are the religious differences, but they're even not that important because we can speak pretty much the same language as, spoken-wise. So, yeah, I mean, the food is, look, we were all one country once, so it does come from the same background.
I didn't even know that, I'm ashamed to admit. I didn't even know that.
Well, we were just India.
Yeah.
And in 1947, we partitioned and we became two separate countries. And
the Kashmir
is still the disputed area.
Was it three separate countries, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was also Bengal. So
Bangladesh, yeah. Well, it was hard to split.
East Pakistan, West Pakistan, and then we split that because Bengal wanted to be by itself. So
there's along religious lines, right?
Well, yeah, the religious reasons were the main thing. I mean, the Muslims of India always felt like they couldn't live with the Hindus of India, and so they were all. And after the British left, it was all quite difficult, and it was just better for them to have separate countries. And in the end, there were a couple of very important people that made the countries happen, and it came about. But the food lends itself from the Indian background. So, I guess Pakistani food is the food of what Muslim Indians used to eat. So it has a lineage of Mughal sort of background. A lot of the food is like from the Mughals, the kitchen of the Mughal kings.
What's that word?
The Mughal kings were the kings that ruled India many, many years ago, of course, because India was one country. And they were the
like 12th century or?
God, I don't even remember my history, but yeah, I should have brushed up on that. Mughal kings, yeah. Okay. So they were actually, the Mughal Empire was in the seat of all literary and, art, architecture. It was absolutely stunning. And even now today, what India is architecturally, when the old buildings are all 90% of them built by the Mughals.
Like Taj Mahal?
Yeah. Okay. There was a Mughal king who built it.
It's a stunning building. I've never seen it in person.
It was a Mughal king who built it for his wife as a temple for, to her. They were all Muslim kings, so they built it as a grave. Her tombstone is still there. And so, obviously the East was where all the culture comes from, really. I mean, those countries were, thriving, and the Muslim art and architecture was thriving. And the food was very much rich and creamy. A lot of the stuff that you still eat is like the cream and the pistachios and the saffron. It all comes from the kitchens of the Mughals, and they loved all these because these spices were very hard to find, and they had to be traded from all sorts of places to come in. And obviously the kings got to eat it. So the food comes, and they were all Mughal. So a lot of the food in the Muslim Indian people came from there. But nevertheless, there was a lot of influences from the Hindu food, which was the vegetables and the stir-fry veggies and the stuff that you get to eat a lot here now in the Indian restaurants. But there's the very clear distinction between Pakistani food is that we eat a lot of meat. A lot of meat. So obviously the vegetarian Hindus don't eat as much. They don't eat beef and stuff. I mean, they do now. But they're still their beef, like the cow is sacred to them, so they won't eat beef. Okay. But we eat beef, we'll eat lamb, we eat mutton, which is the goat,
nice,
and so we eat a lot of. So a lot of it is barbecued in Pakistan. The real Pakistani food is all barbecued.
Gotta love barbecue, right?
Is it barbecue or grilling? Is there a difference? Barbecue is more like a real slow cook, isn't it? Well, that's what the U.S. calls a barbecue.
Barbecue is pretty much cooked on coal.
Okay.
So we do a lot of that food. So naan breads and things like that.
Wish we could have had some today.
Yes, I know. You were not going to let me off on that one.
No, but you do owe us.
Yes, I do.
I skipped lunch because of the promise that she made to us.
Yeah, I'm starving.
Okay, now I feel so guilty. I'm going to have to cook you up.
Do you find you let people down often in your life, Sumayya?
No, I try not to. I had a toddler jumping on my head this morning, so it's a little bit hard to do stuff.
No, that's fair enough. Do you ever think about quitting your day job and doing food full time?
I will one day.
You will one day.
Oh yeah, I hope my employer doesn't hear this, but I will one day.
If you could just talk about your day job. I mean,
My day job, I do commercial law in an in-house place in a financial. Well, it's not financial, it's a payment institution. Okay. And I actually work for a company that I'm sort of given out to other, like, basically it's not like a part-time, but it's in the sense that I kind of am lent out to clients for, so kind of sort of being freelance, it's sort of freelance. So I get to go to different banks and places like that, and I work in-house for 6-7 months, whatever the project may be for.
So to like the 12-year-old girls out there that want to grow up and be lawyers, what do you tell them?
Well, I think it's a great profession. I grew up in it because my dad's a lawyer. But it's not for everyone, and it's like any profession, and it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of studying, and there's so many different parts of law that you can get into. And I have to say that commercial law is something that I can really, really enjoy. So I do enjoy it, but I love food more, and I love writing, and I love reading about food. I love meeting people who can talk to me about food. I love learning from them. So for me, it's like, it's not something that you can make money with very quickly, or at all, because if you're lucky, you get someone that kind of gives you that break. But to me, I guess when you're passionate about something, and I guess you guys know this, it doesn't really matter if you're going to make money from it. You just want to explore the best way possible, and it's that exploration that gets you somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's important not to try to make money off of it. Just got to do something that's fun. I mean, Nick and I are having a hell of fun
That is fun. Huh?
doing this, just being a little creative.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you find that it's hard to be creative in your work? How long have you been doing it for?
What, being a lawyer?
Yeah.
10 years.
10 years,
Yeah.
okay. It's funny because I was 10 years in the city as well.
Yeah.
And do you think it's just a nature of course, if you do anything for 10 years, you want to change? Or do you find it?
I don't know. I think some people are really happy. I mean, I worked in a law firm in London, in a city law firm. And, there were people that grew up like knowing they're going to be lawyers, and they went to university, they did training contract, they stayed on. All they ever want to do in life is be a partner. And to me, I couldn't think of something more horrible than to be a partner in a law firm, And
Really?
I think, well, yeah, I mean, you kill yourself for another person, really, for your, fine, you become a part of it when you become a partner, but you're shooting yourself left, right, and center, trying to get the right clientele, because if you don't keep the numbers up, you're going to lose your partnership, or you're going to be kicked out as a partner. So it's always this tension, and some people enjoy that challenge. I have to say, like I said, some people are born into it, and all they want to do is that, but it wasn't for me. But, when I was back in Pakistan, I was working with my dad, and that was totally different, because obviously that was my baby, it was my dad's business, and there was a self-satisfaction that I got from working there. Also, I was a litigator, and I used to go to court, and to me that, I love talking, as you know.
Performing.
And
yeah, we're starting to figure that out.
I like to take center stage, so I got to do that as a litigator. Miss that.
When it comes to your cooking, this is someone I ask most of the professional people in my life. If you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say the finest chef or the finest cook of Pakistani food was a 10, someone who knows nothing is a 0, where would you place yourself?
4.
Wow.
I'm never going to be satisfied with my cooking. I always want to feel like I need to know more, I need to learn more. I don't feel like I'm anywhere near where yes, I know things, and I understand a lot of concepts that a lot of people probably don't, because I grew up, my mom is a great cook, and she taught me lots and lots of little tricks, which is what I want to share with people. But I still feel like there's so much about flavor, about experiences, putting things together, I don't know. And I want to get there, but I guess I'm one of those people who's never satisfied, and I want to keep trying to get.
So join the club.
Yeah.
So interesting that she says 4, because I keep coming back to it, but I'm addicted to the show Kitchen Nightmares.
Right. Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. Right.
One of the first things he does is he goes in and he says he gets the owner over, and before he even eats anything in the restaurant, he said, how would you rate your food on a scale of 1 to 10? And the dude is always, or the woman is always like, I'd say it's pretty good. It's about an 8 or a 9. And then it comes to the table, and Gordon's just like, this is shit. So I'm guessing that her food is probably really, really good.
No, it shows
inverse,
you
right?
I don't know about that.
you're aspiring for a lot more.
Yeah, well, I think that,
But you don't want to be a chef. You don't want to do that. Okay.
Well, I never want to be a chef.
It's a hard job.
That's a
because
tough
it's a
gig,
hard
man.
job, and there's a lot of studying. And you know what? I've done enough studying in my life. I don't do any more. But I definitely want to do it in a softer way, like read lots, learn lots by reading and meeting people, by experience. But I never want to really be a chef, and I don't think I ever really want to run a restaurant, because it's not, it's too much tension, and it's besides I'm not a chef, and I don't think I'd have the experience, and nevertheless it's too much of an expedition to do that. And so really all I really want to focus on is as much writing I can do, and maybe TV appearances later in the future, but with a view to just like really learning more from people and learning from the experience of doing it.
Okay.
And, it's not just limited to Pakistani food. It's I'd love to learn everything. I mean, I love cooking Thai. I love cooking, sort of French now and then, Chinese. But, I cook a lot of Pakistani food because I love it. And it's what comes naturally to me.
Now, how long have you had the website, and what have been the highlights and the lowlights? Because we're in similar,
Yep.
not businesses, but I mean, Nick and I created this from scratch 3 months ago, and we're doing it. So I'm just curious what it's been like for you.
Kind of started pretty much around the same time as you did,
Really?
about September.
Okay.
So, but I had been writing my recipes for a while. Just I kind of like dream them up. So I'm lying in bed and I'll think, oh, that could totally go together. And literally, I'll put on the light. I'll quickly write it down because it'll never stay in my brain. I'll put it in my iPhone or something, and that'll be it. But my husband was always after me. It's like, just do something with your cooking. You're so good at it. Just do something. And you're always like talking about it, and it's really boring. Just do something with it. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll start a blog. Little did I realize that it was another world altogether, and the food blogging is huge, and there are people with book deals, and it's so overwhelming. I can't tell you. Like, I look at people's blogs and I feel so overwhelmed, and I feel every time. Then I go back to my blog and I'm like, oh God, it's so shit.
Yeah.
So and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm so far away. I don't think I ever can do it. And then I just go off like for like a week. I won't be able to write because I get into this like I get a brain freeze. Like, oh my God, I can't do this.
Do you notice how all those old expressions that, like, I mean, when you're a kid, when I was a kid, I just completely disregarded them. But the older I get, the more each one of them starts to make sense.
Yeah.
And the one I was thinking of when you said that is the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It's just one little step at a time.
Yeah. I mean, I was on Twitter the other day, and I was speaking on Twitter to a lady who's been blogging for a couple of years now, and she's just come out with her book now. And I asked her, I said, it's so overwhelming. What do I do? She's like, you just keep going. You just keep going. That's all she said to me, and that's all that she said to me. And she said, look, and blogging is not for everyone. Don't be hard on yourself if you can't do it, but just keep going.
Yeah, it's a good lesson. I mean, our slogan here is about the journey with this show. So it's like, we have aspirations, definitely. Yeah. We want more viewers, definitely. Yeah. But I mean, we are enjoying it at the same time.
I'm obsessed with viewership. I'm obsessed. I mean, I look at my blog and I'm like, please freaking comment, please, people. And people go and they won't comment. And, they'll go on it, they'll read it, or they probably watch your show and they probably say, oh, okay, fine, nice.
Right.
And I'm like, will you bloody just write something?
Any
please?
comment,
anything, just say it's crap, but just do it. But that's it's readership you need to build, and I think that is, like you said, it's the journey of getting there. And you're going to look back, like I'm sure one day I will too, and you'll be like, oh my God, I was really nervous about this, and now it doesn't even matter because people just watch me without. I mean, in fact, I'm sick of all these people commenting because I don't have time to read it.
If you were a kid, like let's say you were 15 and you were worrying about like how you were going to be an adult, do you know what I mean? It's a process that will just unfold and happen no matter what.
Yeah, and then, like when you're a kid, you just want to grow up.
Yeah.
And all you think is, when will I grow up? When will I grow up? And then when you're grown up, you're like, oh God, I wish I could be a kid again.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
so
the same
true,
thing.
huh? So true.
It's funny. Nick's the very first episode we did here, we shot it and filmed it, and then we lost it. And it was like our first hour, and it was a great hour. Of course, we feel that every hour is great. Yeah. But we got to the end of it, and like one half of it just didn't save, and we were like tearing our hair out for 3 hours.
I almost started crying, dude.
I mean,
I'm so sad.
I was there for you. But it was just so devastating, and now in retrospect, it's such a joke because it was just one episode. We're way past that. But like at the time, it seemed like insurmountable.
Absolutely, that's what happens, and I think soon you'll even lose count of how many episodes you've done. So
I had no idea it was 14.
Yeah.
When you said that, I was like shocked. Wow.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah,
really crazy. Now, Sumayya, you've got some crazy jailhouse tats going on, and I wanted to know what is going on with those. And is that against your religion, by the way?
Apparently, it's. I don't know if it's against the religion, but definitely, like a lot of people say, you're not. Because I think that the reason why it's supposed to be against our religion is because it's inflicting pain upon yourself, right? So that's not supposed to be an Islamic thing to do.
Okay.
Seriously, I didn't know that.
But I don't actually find it painful, so I tell people, well, I find it pleasurable, so what are you going to do about it?
So it's not about marking yourself or something?
Not that I know of. I
Okay.
mean, I'm sure people differ in my opinion, but I don't think it's got anything to do
Jewish
with
people can't mark themselves either. Is that for a slightly different reason?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't
Why
know.
don't you
the
do
details.
tats?
Dude, I just never, it never appealed to me.
Yeah, I never understood that. You never.
You seem like a tat kind of
Yeah,
dude.
I know,
Really?
exactly. That's what I thought the first time I met him. I was like, where are your tats?
Yeah, I just never, I don't know, never appealed to me. I mean, you got one
Just
or
two,
some?
just
Just
two,
two,
yeah.
okay. So what's up with yours? Can we see some of them?
Well, I mean, that is like...
Here, put it up to the...
Yep, that is just stars, like my daughter's stars and mine.
Can't really hide that one, can you?
No, and you know, I tried initially at work and stuff, and I was like, screw it, you know,
Yeah,
I can't be bothered.
whatever.
It's me, deal with it. You know, I'm a lawyer with tattoos.
See, that's the name of the show. It's me. Deal with it.
Yeah, it really it is.
You know, when you said it's me, deal with it, like it was reminded me of, because I've got a tattoo on my arm as well, and when I was getting it, one of my apprehensions was, like, people might judge me negatively based on the fact that I have a tattoo that's in such a visible place. And then I thought to myself, you know, anyone who would make a judgment on me based on something like that, that's a great little thing that just filters them out. That's fantastic.
They're not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, you know, a lot of people a lot of girls in Pakistan do have tattoos now that go abroad and stuff, but it's not something that's quite common. And to me, I was always about tattoos that meant something to me, that defined me, and something I could live with for the rest of my life. And I was very particular about that. Like, I had my first tattoo up here. You can't really get there now, but it's a barbed wire. It's not a Pam Anderson barbed wire. It's not that intense, but you know, it's kind of like, for me, I had it done when I was 19, and it was sort of like, you know, I'm now grown up and I can do a tattoo kind of thing. And it's cool. You know, like, sort of barbed wire meant a lot to me about, you know, being brought up in a country that's quite, you know, caging in a way, and yet it's, you know, I was kind of free because I'd, you know, come abroad, and so it was quite a lot of meaning to me, and to this day, I mean, there's been not even one day I've regretted that tattoo.
Yeah.
Not even one.
But
you know
it's hard to do that, because as you grow old, you're going to change your values, and you might regret.
It's I don't even know it's there. It's like I'm probably, Nick, you probably feel I don't even know my tattoo's there. I even forget.
I love my tattoos.
Really?
I
Yeah,
love
that's
mine.
good.
Every time I see them, I get this little, like,
So do I.
little rush, you know. Like,
I do too.
I dated this girl in New York City one time, or I didn't date her. I saw her a couple times, and I remember we went to her place, and I was like, "What's that on your arm?" And she's like, "A mistake."
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was someone, I don't know, with some crazy tat.
I love chicks with tattoos
Really?
and piercings and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I had my navel pierced ages ago because that was one piercing I loved.
Okay.
I used to have my nose pierced just to wear a ring, but, you know, kind of doesn't go with my profession, so I took that off. But you know, my tattoos, like this one's my daughter's, this one is my daughter's date of birth and her time of birth in Arabic.
Okay.
And then I have another big nautical star here because I actually grew up on the sea because my dad used to be in the Merchant Navy before. So I grew up like 7 years of my life on the sea. So sea means everything to me. I love the sea. And I also sail. So I've got like these nautical flags going down just in my daughter's year of birth. And then just at the back, on my lower back, I have a knot.
Oh, you got loads of tattoos.
Yeah, 5. And it's like the infinity knot, you know, it's like
Nice.
a figure of 8. And then I have my daughter's coordinates of a hospital right through it in coordinates. So it's kind of, I designed all my tattoos. So
Cool.
yeah.
The coordinates, like, was she born in London?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
So I have,
crazy.
like,
So you're
the
not
map
like that
coordinates.
person who walks into a tattoo store and like finds a picture of a dolphin and goes, "I want that one."
Never.
hate those. Oh,
No.
God.
I've seen those, yeah.
Look, the tattoo has to be an extension of yourself and an extension of your personality and something that you can live with forever. And you have to live with yourself as long as you're alive. So it's got to be a part of you. And I wouldn't want to remove any of them.
That's a good thing. Are you done?
Don't know.
I guess that's probably...
Well, I've been thinking about
Pointless
and-
question, right?
Yeah,
You could change
I've
your
been
mind.
look. I have nothing on my lower body really beyond my sort of hip bone, and I'm thinking of like I ride horses, and I have this real passion for horses, and I've always wanted to do something that's slightly equestrian, but I haven't actually thought of something yet. But I'm in the working on something, so maybe one more.
Keep us posted on
Yeah,
that.
I will.
So would you consider yourself an alpha female?
Alpha
we
female.
we talk about this a lot of time on the show because, like most men, I think Nick and I are constantly confused and about women in general.
I
but
think I figured it out now.
really,
Yeah.
you think you're in your dream, in your alpha brain inspired dream.
Yeah.
But are you, or what the hell does that expression mean, anyways?
Alpha female. I don't know really. I mean, alpha male. I guess it's now I think that women are becoming a lot more dominant in society and want to wear the pants really, and I think that's where it's coming from. Women just are exerting themselves.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's cool because I've always been a very assertive woman, and I think most of my relationships have had issues because I've always wanted to be the man in a relationship, and I think it's just because I'm a very confident and excessively self-centered human being, and I think that it's not easy for most Pakistani men because Eastern men are very traditional and they like their wives like under their thumb and they don't really like them to speak out. And I guess even though most of the men that I dated and I'd also got married before, they were always like quite modern ostensibly, but really I don't know if they really were. And so there are a lot of conflicts, and I think, there's always there's always two sides of the story, and appreciating that, I would say that a lot of the reasons why things may not have worked out in my life before was because I was just too assertive as a person, and I needed someone to calm me down. And then I put my back up. Like if someone tries to put me down, I'll actually fight back more. So be like, don't try to suppress my personality. This is me.
You should train jiu-jitsu.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know.
but that's changed.
That has changed. Because you don't seem like an egotistical
but
person.
I'm not anymore. You see, this is what I was, and I think I'm not egotistical, but I guess I was very overly confident about myself when I was younger, and I always thought that I knew better. But I think by meeting the right man, I've totally calmed down. And he's not even ever said anything to me because he's so chilled out that he allows me to be myself. And yet I feel like, wait a minute, I'm being a bit of a bitch here, so maybe I should calm down. So I've kind of learned, and I think you find the right person to be with, you kind of mellow down, and that's the right relationship for you, because obviously each of you have to mellow each other down at some stage.
It's nice. It probably wouldn't have worked if he had been critical of you, right? You probably had to find your own way.
Yeah, he's always been very easy to deal with. So he's a very chilled out guy, so he allows me to become naturally chilled out. So.
This just seems like such an opposite cultural thing when you describe what Pakistan's like with the male-female relationship. You seem like more like an American.
Yeah, I don't even know how I became like that. I think it might have been because I'm an only child and I grew up very sort of, allowed to be what I wanted to be. My parents very pushed me to be, and I guess I was always the son and the daughter for them. So they allowed me to be that way. They could have been different, but I've been, I'm thankful to my parents for letting me be the human being I am. So maybe that's why.
Wow.
No.
It's pretty interesting, right?
There's enough for a whole series of podcasts in there, huh?
You don't want to get into my head, I promise you.
Yeah, that's cool.
And what do you think of other people that are kind of doing blogs out there, or people that are putting media out? Do you think do you think it's hard to try to get people's attention these days because there's so many things going on? There's so many programs to watch. I mean, our program is just under an hour, and a lot of people say, I don't have an hour, Brian, in my week. And part of me says, you're lame. And then part of me says, okay, I kind of get it because
that's sort of bullshit, dude. People watch an hour-long TV show.
That's
without
true.
thinking twice.
It's priorities.
How many hours do people spend on Facebook each day? Yeah. Just that their attention spans have become so short.
And those are quick bits and things like that. But I mean, you said there's a sea of food blogs out there, right?
There is. And when I look at that sea, there are very few that catch your eye. And I think the things that catch your eye are amazing photographs, because we are very visual now. I think a lot of us, the thing is that's why I think something like what you guys are doing is really great, because you're visual. You look at people's faces, you get expressions, you get movement. So I think blogs are harder because people don't have that much time to read anymore. So really the people who go to blogs are people, who are looking for recipes, just generally because they're bored and they want to cook something fun, but they have to love food to do that, because you can just slap something in the microwave from Marks or Spencer's or something. So you really need to look for food. Now, there's so many blogs out there that have really crappy photographs, but really good recipes. And I look at that and I'm like, wow, the recipe is fantastic. The picture is just not doing it justice. So I think what you need to find, at least with blogs, food blogs, is you have to find a happy medium. Really good recipes, but recipes that are snappy. So it's got to be like, boom, 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 these are the ingredients, this is how you do it. People don't have time for stories. And a lot of blogs that I see have a memoir style thing that I did this, I did that. I mean, it's all very interesting. There's some that are amazing, and those make great books. But I think that, you've got to keep it snappy. Yeah, give a story, give a background, but it shouldn't be more than 300-400, maximum 300 words.
Do you have a background on your site?
I do. I have a little background on why I love food and who I am.
Okay.
But then, if you want to read it, you read it. If you don't want to read it, don't read it.
Right. I find most of your recipes to be all about, this is only going to take 30 minutes, so try it. This is only going to have 6 ingredients.
It's usually
so
28 minutes longer than I have to make a meal.
Really?
Well, yeah.
No, but actually her stuff, I read it and I was like, okay, I think I can make this.
The thing about my recipes is you have to get the spices. And once you have that spice covered, you can do it. And I mean, to me, the main spices for curry, I would say, as long as you have cinnamon, cumin, cardamom, you can pretty much whip up one. And for vegetable things, you should have maybe just, again, cumin, mustard seeds, pretty good. Ginger, garlic, that's all you need, and onions for a curry. Yeah, I mean, then you can just basically add to it if you want. But if you have these things in your cupboard, you can pretty much whip something up.
And a food processor.
Okay.
Or and a live-in cook.
Yeah, I'm happy to come by and
you don't
help
cook?
That.
Dude, man.
It's an
I
experience.
can make functional meals. I can wake up in the morning and make myself an omelet, to get my protein in and keep my blood sugar stable.
Right.
I could make myself a piece of steak, but as soon as it starts getting complicated, I don't know, dude. Maybe it's just I don't have the concentration, or it's that gestalt of food that I still haven't quite gotten yet. Do you know what I mean? Like the timing and the just noticing the colors and when it's time to like stir stuff, and it just.
It's hard to cook for yourself. It's hard to get excited about cooking for yourself, I think, because especially when you're in this, I got to get enough protein mindset, and you can easily go down the street. But I think if you're cooking for someone else, then the whole dynamic changes.
Do you cook for your girlfriend?
I do, yeah. I cook for lots of people. You know, I cook.
Oh, you're good?
Yeah, I'm decent, actually.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, my stepmother started me cooking when I was 7 or 8, and she was big into food. And it sounds strange, but it's a big way we communicated when I was growing up, because we would make food together. And on Christmas Eve, I cooked lobsters, you know, like live lobsters, and boiled them. And it was like an event, and it was fun. And, you know, you can do it, you know, with kids or with adults. And I mean, I had a buddy of mine come over a few years ago from the States, and, you know, I cooked like a steak dinner, you know, at my place. Cool. And it was just like, it's more social, isn't it?
It is social, and you're right about cooking for yourself is a real bore, and sometimes I really don't bother also. But like for me, you know, food is like fun, because I come home, I'm really tired after a long day. But if I kind of struggle about thinking about cooking, but when I actually get down to it, it's really relaxing. I really chill out. I do something creative. You know, it's like for me, it's creativity. You lack creativity when you're sitting in front of a computer all day and looking at like documents and fixing stuff. You know,
so true.
So this is creativity. You're putting like 5 ingredients together, and you're actually making something you can eat. I mean, you know, wow.
Yeah. And something you can see. You can say, okay, I made that. Yeah.
I made this, and it smells amazing. You know, so.
And they say it's very therapeutic, even doing the mundane things like slicing onions. And
I find it therapeutic.
Some people said that's the only way they could relax. I knew some guy in the city, and he said the only way I can relax is by cooking, because his mind was doing this thing for like an hour. Yeah. Which is, I mean, that is interesting. I can kind of understand it, but.
Well, you know, I mean, look, like I have a 3-year-old, and I see her excitement when I'm cooking something, or when I'm baking a cake. She wants to do it. So there must be something about it that, you know, that raw as a human being, when you're a 3-year-old, it actually appeals to them. That obviously means there's something quite exciting about the whole experience. I'm going to make something that I can eat. You know, that's what she probably thinks. And so I think
it's really big with kids.
It's amazing with kids.
I mean, it's big. I mean, I mentored that 10-year-old kid about a year ago, and one of our best days was we went to a cooking thing, and we were making food together, and then we ate it afterwards. God, it sounds so simple, doesn't it?
It's simple. It's things we've forgotten to do.
My new thing is drawing.
Really?
Like, I get that from like I'll sit down and I mean, I'm crap at it. I'm still learning, but I think any task which, you know that movie, The Last Samurai with
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Loved it. Don't like him, but loved that movie.
It's a cool film. I remember he was writing a letter, like, or his memoirs or something, that he was going to send back to the West, and he was saying how he was describing the villages, and it was a montage of like them doing their daily activities, and he was saying something about how, you know, these people live their lives with such a simplicity, and every single task, no matter how mundane it is, they're totally dedicated and devoted to it. And like, I mean, just one woman's like washing clothes in the river, and the other guys are practicing judo or whatever it was, and another guy's sharpening a sword. And it's just, I think in the modern world, we don't have that because there's so much distraction. There's so much happening all the time, you know, like just on the way here on the bus, I was sitting on the bus, and, you know, I was playing on Facebook and downloading some music on Spotify and doing a note and what I have to do tomorrow. And then like the bus stopped at the station, and just looked up out the window, and, you know, the sun was filtering through the trees, dude. And I was like, you know, I've missed this whole bus ride because I was inside this computer abstraction. You know what I mean? I think cooking probably is one of the ways to counter that, you know?
I think so, right? Just back to basics a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, how many times do you pick up an onion and chop it? You just have it ready in a plastic bag, or
they're selling pre-chopped onions now in Waitrose.
Waitrose, I know. I mean, yes, they're great.
So you don't have to chop it.
Yeah, but I love chopping because I love using
those.
I can chop some for you, and I'll send them to you. But, you know, like chopping them with my lovely knife that I have. You know, I did this knife skills course.
Do you have a global or a Vostok?
A global.
Nice.
Is that the way to go?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I have the other one as well, but I don't know. I like the globe because it's a lot lighter on the wrist, and I kind of like it anyway.
I need a cutting course. I mean, was the course really important to hold your fingers?
Yeah, I liked it. I think, you know, I've learned how to chop properly, and I can do onions. I can dissect a chicken in, you know, without cutting a bone, and so it's interesting. Yeah, but it's all about technique, and once you learn, you'll be surprised that you actually don't forget the techniques. They're quite simple, and you know how to really cut an onion without it falling apart. You know how it just like goes blop. So you don't cut that one little little hairy side of the onion.
Oh, that keeps it together.
Yeah, it keeps it
Oh,
together.
I
So you
learned
just
something
slice
today.
it like,
Cool.
and then
Didn't know
that's
that.
it. And it's a small little trick. And just how to like segment an orange the way that you get it in a fruit salad without the skin, and stuff like that. It's really, really, really fun. So simple, but so much fun. So it's actually more exciting to cook like when you know what you're doing. So yeah, and I haven't chopped any fingers off now. I used to always chop my nails off, but now I don't.
I'm getting more excited about cooking. I read Anthony Bourdain's book.
Great.
Oh, it's fabulous. No reservations?
No, actually, well, that's his show, right? But it was a Kitchen Confidential.
Oh, Kitchen
his
Confidential.
original book.
Yeah, Kitchen Confidential. I have read.
You asked me the other day what the next one was? I think
it
it's
was
called Raw Deal.
Raw something.
No,
It's
no,
raw.
I've read the first one, Kitchen
Okay, which Kitchen
Confidential. It was
Confidential.
ages ago, yeah.
The next one was raw something. But I started getting excited. Actually, I made an omelet the other day, and I was like all excited. And Bourdain was like, the key for our kitchen and your kitchen is we use shallots in the kitchen, not onions. And he's like, and we use butter. He's like, that's what we use, and we use lots of it. So that's why our food tastes better. And I did both of those things. I made kick-ass omelets.
Seriously.
Yeah,
butter
I didn't
can
take a
change
picture.
everything.
When are you going to cook for me, Brian?
We're away. So you got your first hug a
yeah,
couple months ago.
But butter is fabulous with eggs. I mean, it's a match made in heaven.
It is, right.
And I mean, it's like when I make my omelet, and one of the recipes on my blog is about a Pakistani style omelet that has lots of like coriander and chili and stuff like that.
Oh, that sounds good.
It is. It's nice. It's got garlic as well. Then you can put potatoes in it, and you can put parmesan on it, whatever you want. But one of the main things that I do is cook it in ghee. And ghee is clarified butter, so it's like the richest taste of like a buttery flavor you can
Sounds
get.
amazing.
Doesn't go with everything.
Okay.
Like it goes with some foods, but it really goes with eggs. And
Do you buy that separately?
yeah, I mean you can buy it
Clarified
from
butter?
you can buy it in Sainsbury's. Literally that easy to get now.
It's a new tip.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, you might want to try what it goes with because it's got such a pungent, buttery smell that, and it's very, very, very buttery smell. That doesn't always, it can overpower some food. So you've got to be careful with what you mix it with.
Wow. What do you think of Heston Blumenthal?
I think he's incredible. I think he takes food to another level. He takes it to science, which is what food really is. I mean, really, when you put even 5 things together, you're creating something like an experiment. It is a scientific experience to cook because when butter, starts spluttering, you put something in it, starts sizzling. That's all very scientific. And I think he's taken it to a different level. He's taken it into domains that no one's ever gone to before. And I think he's completely a genius.
Yeah,
I like
but
watching him. Do you like him?
Snail porridge, seriously?
I don't know about the snail porridge, and I don't know about weird foams and all of that. But
I had his bacon and egg ice cream.
Yeah?
I went out to this restaurant in
I
Bray.
wanted to try that.
And it was awesome.
Was it though?
It was, yeah. He's doing a show now on BBC. It's him at home cooking, so it doesn't have all the fancy stuff, although he does pull out some dry ice every now and then.
Yeah.
But he showed how he does the bacon and egg, and man, it was pretty trippy when they did it in front of me.
How does he do the ice cream?
Well, it was like 15 courses, by the way, and it was like one of the last courses, and they walked up to the table after we've had like 12 courses, and they said, "Good morning, Mr. Rose. Would you like your breakfast?" And I was like, "Okay, yes." And so they gave me like a bag that was like cereal, and he brought out an egg that was was like your bacon and egg ice cream. And I was with actually a client, and he was actually Muslim, so he couldn't have any bacon, so he had something else. Yeah. And he took the egg, which was actually had been hollowed out and pre-filled with this whole bacon and egg rich mixture, and they cracked it and popped it in the pot as if it was an egg, but it wasn't an egg. Poured liquid nitrogen in, stirred it up, and made ice cream right there in front of me, and served it on a little piece of toast with a little bit of bacon on the side, and it was awesome.
Wow.
He just messes with your mind because you can't think about something.
Oh yeah, I get
something
it. Now I get it.
Savory and something sweet at the same time, but he just does it to mess with you.
Yeah.
He actually tricks you most of the time he's there.
That's interesting.
He gives you one
That's
thing and you
amazing.
think it's something else.
No, I know. I've yet to go to that restaurant, but I have
What
to say
about-
that's what I love about him.
That restaurant where it might even be one of Heston Blumenthal's is where you eat in the dark. Have you heard about this?
Oh yeah, it's also in France as well. They're blind waiters.
There's one in London though as well.
Yeah, there's one in
There's one in
London too.
London, yeah.
Quite a few of my friends have been there, and they said the food is okay, but it's the experience, and it's all like blind waiters, so that's why it's dark because they can't see anyway. So they come and serve you food, and apparently it's because they really want you to experience the flavors and experience the senses. Because when your eyes are closed, it's like when you do blind tasting and stuff, you can really, really taste the wine, and you can really see the flavors. It's the same thing. And I think I haven't done it yet, and it is one of the my go-to things to do soon, very soon, just for that experience.
That sounds so weird. I mean, how do you see your food? You just kind of, is it kind of?
I don't know. I think it's all sort of done, and you kind of just pick it. I have no idea. I mean, people said there's the whole
We
experience.
should go check it out, man.
Yeah,
I guess it is a whole experience. I mean, a lot of people think of like the great meals you've had in your life, and it's not just the food, isn't it? It's everything that's going on.
The ambiance and the company.
The company
and-
is a lot of it, and
Yeah.
just how you're feeling at that time, and
Yeah.
it's a crazy mixture of things.
I mean, speaking of like company. I mean, yesterday I was just telling you I'd gone to this supper club, not the restaurant supper club, but like supper clubs which are in people's houses, and you go and have a meal, and you don't know any of the people on the table. And it was so interesting because I really wanted to experience what that was like, and it was a Vietnamese cuisine, and it was fabulous food. But what was amazing was I was sitting with 5 different people I'd never met in my life, didn't know what to experience, didn't know what to expect, and just, obviously got a bottle of wine, had some drinks, but it was just incredible to have a conversation with people who never met. And I actually think it was one of the nicest meals I've ever had, because I think it was more just interesting people I met, and I found so many things in common with complete strangers. And so it was the same thing about meeting people you've never met before, that if you go to a restaurant you never really talk to your neighbors, so you actually get to do that, and
I guess you're all doing something you kind of loved as well. I guess you're experiencing something nice. You can talk about the food. And
exactly. And we didn't even talk about, we talked, wow, this is really yummy. And I've never eaten, okay, so I am quite a prude, I think, but I'd never really eaten frog's legs before. And I was always a bit anti-eating frog's legs because I just thought they were very slimy and disgusting. But the way that they were served yesterday.
Tastes like chicken?
Yeah, it tasted like amazing chicken, like really succulent chicken, and it was really good. I had 3. I was shocked.
You're this fabulous food blogger, and that's all you can tell me is it tastes like chicken?
Well, it tastes like chicken, but it has... So every single bite that I took of it, I thought of a frog going ribbit, ribbit. Okay, I did, I have to say. It was kind of on the back of my head while I was chomping on that, and I was just like, okay, it's not. It's really delicious, really. And then I had more and more, and I realized how much I really liked it. It was like chicken, but it was also a bit like fish. So it was there was nothing fishy about the smell, but there was something slightly fishy about the texture. Though it felt like chicken, when I bit into it, it felt a little bit like, say, haddock or hake or something quite fleshy and white meaty. Wow. So it was interesting.
Wow. Yeah, you said earlier that you go back to Pakistan a lot, and I was just wondering, is it safe? Is it not safe? I mean, I have an American passport.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would be welcoming me with a big party at the airport. Or not.
I mean,
I'm just curious.
Not. I mean, it's hard to say. It's safe in some areas where like when my parents are, it's safe. But there's a lot of lawlessness now, and I think that's what's scary. And I grew up in a Pakistan that was very different. It was really safe and nice, fun. We used to do whatever the hell we wanted. And now it's become quite restricted because you're always scared someone might kidnap you or, shoot you. But general life goes on. I mean, my parents still live there, and they're getting on with life. But it's it's not as safe as it used to be. And it's sad because it's stopped a lot of people going there, and sadly that's the reality. But not
you still go back?
Safe. I go home once a year.
Okay.
But my parents come here more often, so yeah.
Does everyone in Pakistan hate the U.S.?
No, actually, people love the U.S., but I guess politically it's not loved.
Yeah, I can understand why.
It's crazy how a regime or a government can be so misrepresentative of the people.
Yeah.
It's just I find that interesting.
It's interesting. I was thinking about when you come over today and just U.S. and Pakistani relationships and everything going on over there, and it's like if I ever get asked by someone in Pakistan or someone in Afghanistan, what the hell are you guys doing in there? And I just say simply, it's just business. Where they're just business. I completely understand the Pakistani people because they know sooner or later the U.S. will leave. Will always leave sooner or later. And they have to deal with what happens afterwards. And let's be honest, they're next door neighbors with the Afghanis, and they're going to have some working relationship in the future with the Taliban. And so I understand partly they're like, okay, you want us to back you 100%, but when you leave, and you will, because you have before, that's why the Taliban were created after the U.S. supported them against the Soviet Union. We have to pick up the pieces. So fuck you. No, I'm just joking. But I mean, I understand how part of them are like, you know what, we don't really want to play your games right now. So.
Well, it's always been that. I think Pakistanis just feel really let down by America. They use us when you want, and then you leave us, and like you said, and we just have to pick up the pieces. And the picking up the pieces are not just that. We have to deal with this whole lot of people, the Taliban, which obviously are huge are pretty much infiltrated in Pakistan now, and they've reached the south. I come from Karachi, and they're all the way there now, and that's what's the unsafety element, because they're coming in, they're saying things like, you are supposed to be a Muslim state, women should be covered, and all that kind of stuff. And as a woman, I feel really strongly about that, because I don't really believe in the whole covering your head stuff. And so I'm like, don't inflict anything. This is, we were all it's a moderate Muslim country generally, but you have all these people. So that whole Taliban element is something that I guess a lot of people really resent, and we have to deal with all of it, and our governments have had to deal with it, and so it's and then America leaves when they want to, and I guess that's the resentment that's built up.
I understand that. Yeah, we're just looking out for our interests globally. I know.
Yeah, sure.
If you lived in America, you might be the same, but I completely understand both points of view. But it must be scary when people are coming in and telling you kind of what to do, especially with your hair.
Yeah.
And that's the best
part. I chopped it all off, so it's easier now.
That's the best part of girls sometimes is their hair. They cover up their hair, and it's like
exactly. It's like it's all gone. Well, I think that the whole covering of the head is a very cultural thing more than a religious thing. And in our culture, and even the Hindus, I mean, a lot of them cover the head just outside because it covers you from the sun, it keeps you protected. It's also because in our religion it was all about covering your apparent beauty and keeping it away. And apparent beauty in the East is pretty much your hair, because all Eastern women have gorgeous hair. And I think that a lot of that came from the cultural point of view as well. I mean, not just religious. So
just don't understand why you'd want to cover it though.
I don't know. I think just not to attract attention. That's the whole idea, is that if you attract attention, it's basically the whole idea about the restrictions on women in Islam really come from the fact it's about protection of women. And you're talking about a country, Saudi Arabia, where Islam came, was a country where there was a lot of debauchery and there was crazy stuff what the Bedouins were doing, and Islam kind of tamed them, and they tried to give women respect, and women were not respected, and women were given that respect by Islam. I mean, it gave rights to women. It allowed women to be individuals with rights which they were not given prior to Islam.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that is where it comes. And then the protection of women was that, if you keep yourself covered, you don't, men are bastards, they'll look at you sexually and, they want to pounce on you. This way you're protecting yourself. So you're putting this veil between that attraction element, so you're not sexually
and then you're just forcing it into their mind, though.
But it's gone to a different level.
Because now we have some more of a civility, and we have a police state, and so maybe you don't need to do that.
Yeah, but now it's taken a different level. All of it, it's become, they don't think about where it comes from. It's just become this imperative thing upon you, and you're not allowed to really think and make your own judgment call, which is, I think, not fair. But
it's comes back to that, whatever you declare war on, you energize. Like if you repress female beauty and like all sexual thought, and
you'll be more of it.
Yeah, of course. Then it's gonna go inwards, and then you get like perversion.
Absolutely, and that is what's sad thing. In Pakistan, there's a lot of perversion simply because the women are not. Of course, Pakistan's probably not the best example, but in Saudi Arabia, where there's complete restriction on women to do parda and stuff like that. I mean, crazy things happen there in the society. There's this homosexuality, there's all sorts of stuff and not that there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is it's like homosexuality. If you are gay, then fine, you're comfortable with being gay.
Whereas it's similar to as in a prison where it's pretty much.
Or it's just the only option.
It's something, and it's like they won't even admit that they're gay. They'll screw little boys and they'll say, oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And so there's and they don't want to admit that they're gay. So I'm just saying that things like that are really because of repression. Oppression. It does that to you. Makes you screwed up.
I mean, I just don't know how you could function if you just walked around and you don't see girls, because they're all kept at home, and they can only go out with an escort or a
male family member.
A family member. It has to be a family
Watching
member.
a film now, in fact, I've got a copy of it for you. It's called The Devil's Double. Have you heard about it?
No, I haven't.
It's about Uday Hussein, Saddam Hussein's one of his kids.
Oh, I have heard about this movie, yeah.
And he had obviously a doppelganger, a dude, in case he was assassinated or anything like that. And what I'm reminded of is this one scene where Uday and his bodyguards are driving down the street, and they just see a schoolgirl, and just bundle her into the car, and he rapes her. And I mean, do you know what I mean? It's some very dark stuff going on in regimes like that.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, these things happen everywhere, but it's the perversion of it. Yeah. It's the extreme to how it is thought of and how disgusting the whole thing is. I mean, rape happens in so many countries, it doesn't matter, but it's just, I think it's the thought behind it.
Wow. As usual, the hour flies.
Was that
so? So I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But if you want to just give us your website and your Twitter and anything else so people can find you.
Yeah, sure. My website is www.pakkapaki.com, and I didn't say anything about the name. But I'll quickly just
give
say
us quickly.
Quickly, Pakka means real, and Paki is obviously from Pakistani. A lot of people have this concept that it's very derogatory, but it really means pure, and it's a word I want to reappropriate back to my positive, meaning of it.
Cool.
And
like
so hopefully I'll do that through the name.
Good. And you're on Twitter as well?
I'm at Twitter. It's at Pakkapaki.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, cool. We'll flash that stuff on the page as well.
Sumayya.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for being our first girl.
Oh, pleasure.
Cool. Later. It's about the journey.
It is. All right. Thanks, guys. All right, bye.
Thanks. Bye.